Can XRP save Japan? This is the question that I posed to you on this Friday morning update. I hope everybody's had a fantastic week. We got a lot to break down here, and I just wanted to make it a quick Friday update. So let's get right on into it. We just witnessed the largest, quite possibly, the largest yen intervention that has ever been done. But is it enough to save Japan? I don't think so. And we're going to talk about how XRP ends up being a solution that can help Japan out of the crisis that they find themselves in. Let's take it straight to Bloomberg with the breaking scoop this morning. Bank of Japan data point to yen intervention of around 53 billion. This is likely the largest ever intervention on a single day by Tokyo, showing the determination and increasing difficulty for authorities to peg back speculators betting against the yen. So they're saying that they likely spent about 53 billion intervening in the currency market on Thursday, trying to prop up the yen. And that would be 52 billion US. That's 8.45 trillion yen. And I'm glad that once in a while that Bloomberg subscription pays off and I can read a Bloomberg article that we actually need to read. Very fascinating. Big intervention, and it's not enough. And at the same time, South Korea joins the party selling US dollars in a rare market intervention to strengthen the won. So we have Japan selling off US treasuries to save the yen, and we have Korea selling off US treasuries to save the won. Now, the problem here is that it hasn't been enough. And this morning, we have Reuters reporting, quote, the U.S. Treasury has informed a number of banks that it may intervene in the yen market on Friday and that they should stand ready for future action, a source familiar with the matter told Reuters. So we now have U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and apparently through the New York Fed, they sent out a notice to major banks that they might be getting ready to move. Now, I want to give you guys a pro tip when it comes to your research online. You see this post right here from the macro paper? The U.S. Treasury has informed banks that it may intervene in the yen market today. Now, what I'm starting to do is I'll hit this little Grok button. And I'll hit the Grok button, and then I'll type in, pull the direct quote. One of the most important things, obviously, in my work and for you guys conducting your research is a lot of the times these statements from President Trump, Scott Bessent, the Prime Minister out of Japan, insert any person, Brad Garlinghouse, right? These comments get taken out of context. And so the exercise that I've been conducting lately on a regular basis is I just told Grok, pull up the direct quote. I don't want to see the clickbait headline that sometimes gets taken out of context from some Twitter account. I want the direct quote from the president. I want the direct quote from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And we do have Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying that the yen is weaker than it should be. I'm going to play a direct little interview snippet right here, 1 minute, on Fox Business, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
I'm going to ask you about Japan. It seems the Japanese intervened in their markets, in their currency markets, earlier today. Do you have a response to that?
We think that excess volatility in the yen isn't healthy. And I was in the currency business for 40 years, and Japanese yen seems very undervalued to me. The currency is very cheap. The economy is doing well. The prime minister is very popular and enacting very strong policies. And I think we're going to see the fundamentals come through. At a point that the market will realize the yen is undervalued and should strengthen.
So you're not concerned about the strength of the yen against the dollar?
No. That the currency markets tend to overshoot, and I believe the Japanese yen has substantially overshot what would be called an equilibrium price.
And so there you have it, folks. Secretary Scott Bessent there, saying that it's gone too far. Let's take a look. The main point that gets interesting to me, and this relates back to can XRP maybe help save Japan, they're going to need something because this was the biggest intervention ever, and it temporarily pushed the USD versus JPY pairing down to 158 while it was up at 164. But that did not last long. And we quickly shot back up above 160 up to 161. And as I record the update this morning, I'll show you the chart right here. We're at 159 USD versus JPY. 160 is the danger zone. We went up to 162 back in August of 2024, the last time the carry trade blew up aggressively. And we just went up to 164. Okay, so this big intervention, brings in a big red candle here. The yen appreciates against the dollar for a day. And then we're right back up to 161, and we're basically right back up to 160, right back into the danger zone. And so is XRP the end-all be-all solution for Japan? We'll talk about that here in a second. But one thing's for certain, and this is crystal clear. The interventions into the currency market so far have not been enough. Now, maybe Secretary Scott Bessent and our banks here in America are going to do something to help out. But I ultimately think that Japan is going to need another solution. Where does XRP fit into this? There's been a lot of narratives. There's been a lot of talk about XRP being the chosen solution to save the day. And obviously, a lot of these theories and a lot of this speculation takes us to XRP going to very high prices. And so we love this story. We love this theory. Here's what we have to remember. The problem is in the bond market. They need demand for their bonds. We need demand for our bonds. People are moving away from the currency when possible, and they don't want to lend money to these governments anymore. Can't blame them. Whether it's the bonds in the United States of America, which are actually blowing up this morning. Let me show you guys the bond charts real quick. Here are the 10-year here in the United States of America, back up to 4.733. Back up to 4.7%. Are you ready for 7% mortgage rates in the U.S. again? And we're up to 5.2% on the 20 and the 30-year bond. And the same problem's happening in Japan. They're up here 2.9% at the start of this month, hovering right below 3%. This is a Japanese debt market that was used to 0% rates for decades. And that's where the whole carry trade developed from. So how do we get demand for treasuries? President Trump has outlined it. Scott Bessent has outlined it. It's stablecoins, which is why they passed the Genius Act in America. And you've started to see some regulations passed here in Japan. So let me just answer the question for you guys. Let's just get right to it. XRP alone is not the solution. Can XRP be part of the solution? 1,000%. The simple way is, okay, we buy XRP, we pump XRP, and that saves the day. Okay, insert any other asset. Gold could be the solution. Silver could be the solution. XRP could be the solution. Bitcoin could be the solution, right? If the government put XRP or Bitcoin on its balance sheet and juiced it up, that would allow them to pay back the debt and save the day. We've heard this story before, right? Let's take it a step further. It's not enough. What we need is tokenized stablecoins. That's what soaks up the demand, and those stablecoins are backed by treasuries. That's how that demand gets soaked up. That's how that demand gets created. Is one, you push people out of other positions, and you force them back into treasuries. We saw how that was done in 2025 with the tariffs. We've seen how that was done here in 2026 with the Iran war. But the problem is, fast forward, the bond market's back up, or the yields have risen in the bond market. Although we temporarily got scared at the start of the Iran war, people went back into treasuries. That didn't last long. And now here we are back up at 4.7% for the 10-year, 5.2% for the 30-year. We can't operate at those numbers. Our business cycle, Main Street businesses, whether folks are looking to get a credit card, a car payment, or whether they're looking to get a mortgage and now they're looking at a 7% mortgage rate, we can't function here. And ultimately, it's the 1-2 punch. You hold XRP on your balance sheet, and then you tokenize the stablecoin, and you drive demand to these stablecoins. You increase adoption for your dollar through stablecoins. That's the ticket. So Japan, not only do they need XRP, but what they really need is tokenized yen on the XRP Ledger and other blockchains too, to soak up demand for their bonds. That's what Japan needs. And so, like I said, I know that we like, it's a convenient story. Okay, it's going to fall like this, and it leads to XRP going to a very high price. So I really like that theory. It's okay to like theories, but we also have to take a look at what is actually happening, which is very clear. Japan still has some tools in the tool belt. In the United States of America, looks like they're showing up. And we've been talking about how Scott Bessent is working very closely with his counterparties over there in Japan. So clearly, they have a control of it right now. But the interventions, the moves that they've been making are not enough. They're not lasting long, and they're not a long-term solution. And this is where I think XRP and tokenized yen on the XRP Ledger, can enter the stage, and we can have a conversation about that role that they'll play. And I'm not going to talk about how, what price XRP needs to be at for it to play that role. I think that XRP could actually just stay at the current price, but as long as you drive demand for tokenized yen, on the XRP Ledger, that would be the ticket for Japan. Now, it gets even better if they do own XRP and XRP does increase in price. That also would solve some problems as well, too. But I think ultimately we have to watch what's actually happening on the ground. We have to recognize how long they've been able to push this thing and keep kicking the can down the road. The interventions are getting bigger and the impact is diminishing. So we have to bring some solution forward. I've been talking about this in the United States of America too, about how I think that XRP should be in the strategic reserve. We should be tokenizing US dollars on the XRP Ledger. That process is already well underway with RLUSD and Ripple's effort to expand there. Now we watch SBI, we watch other players that are tokenizing the Japanese yen. This process has already started. We just haven't seen the yen on the XRP Ledger really ramp up. And that's where I actually think XRP and tokenized yen on the XRP Ledger fits into the carry trade story as a possible solution to the crisis Japan faces. But you guys let me know in the comments down below. I'm fascinated to see what you guys have to say. Update on the Clarity Act. We have some Democrats still not in favor. It's not enough. Quote, if we put Donald Trump in charge of regulating an industry that is the primary source of his income, it's very hard for us to run a campaign based on fighting corruption. So this is our opportunity to force Trump to divest as we would expect any chief executive to do. This is Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat out of Connecticut. It's incredibly dishonest, right? One, President Trump's not going to be in charge of regulating this industry. Right? It's going to be the SEC and CFTC along with the OCC and other federal regulators. It's not President Trump. And the Department of Justice has always had the role of prosecuting and charging federal ethics laws, which is another thing that the Democrats are hung up on right now. I'm equally as disgusted with some of the counterparties over on the right side. So don't get it twisted. I'm equally as disappointed with everybody in D.C. I mean, I even saw Republican Josh Hawley come out and say that he might not support Clarity Act. He didn't support Genius Act, and he's not going to support Clarity Act. I'm not exactly sure what his reason is, but it's getting silly out here. All the world's a stage, though. We know this. And so I still am optimistic that this gets passed. As Senator Cynthia Lummis says right here, this bill literally requires the president to divest his digital asset holdings or put them into a blind trust. It's becoming painfully clear some of my Democrat colleagues would rather let consumers lose everything if a crypto exchange fails and posture for the midterms than pass market structure legislation with unprecedented ethics standards covering the president, VP, Congress, and the federal judiciary. Now, you won't hear it from a Republican senator like Cynthia Lummis, but I'll go ahead and say it too. It's becoming painfully clear that some Democrat colleagues would rather put this silly stuff before the country. Correct. But in addition, we also have some Republicans that are revealing to us that they're paid for and bought by the bankers too. Equally as disgusted with them. Okay? Remove the D next to your name, remove the R next to your name, and put an S, because all this is a matter of who did you sell out to? D, R, forget about it. You're a sellout. Who did you sell out to? You should be ashamed of yourself, and we need to vote these politicians out of DC, obviously. With or without the Clarity Act, it's a bullish setup for XRP, and it's a bullish setup as banks and institutions go live. JPMorgan, Citi, UBS, and other major banks successfully test tokenized cross-border payments, settling transactions in an average of 80 seconds. It's cute. It's cute to watch them do, play in the sandbox. It's like my kid. I got a little sandbox set up for the kids this summer. I go put some sand in there. Got the Tonka trucks. Watch the kids go play in the sand, right? That's how I feel about these banks. They come out and say, hey, we did a test. We're moving it in 80 seconds now in our permission centralized walled gardens. Meanwhile, it's 3 to 5 seconds on the XRP Ledger, completely permissionless and open source. Speaking of XRP, the data never lies. According to Chart Nerd, here's what we're watching for. Get your orders ready, folks. XRP has historically provided a negative return in August during every previous midterm year. August 2014, down 5.7%. 2018, 23%. 2022, 13%. The average August decline during midterm years measures out at 14% for XRP. You guys let me know. Do you think that this is the move? Guess what? From our current levels, guess where 14% of a drop would take us? Right down to that 90-cent level. Right here. If that's what we're going to do, we're going right back down to that 90-cent level. Let me zoom in here on the chart for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so if we're going to have another rough August in this midterm year, and we go down 5%, you're back to $1. Well, I just so happen to have a buy order right above $1. Perfect. If we go down 14%, you're down to 90 cents. Oh, perfect. I just happen to have an order at 92 cents. Where do I have those orders sitting? With my sponsor, iTrust Capital. I got them parked right here in my premium custody account. Free institutional grade custody. Absolutely love to see the US-based customer support. We don't deal with any of the headaches, the BS, the nonsense that I'm hearing about with some of these other platforms. I'm just wondering myself, why do people put up with this crap still? I don't get it. It's beyond me. Couldn't be us. It's not our community. We don't put up with that crap, the silly stuff, the centralized exchanges and these other platforms playing around. We just don't put up with it. And you don't need to either. So get tapped in with us. iTrust Capital. They're linked up down below. Get your $100 funding bonus when you create your new account. It's all free institutional grade custody. No AUM fees. US-based customer support. No guessing. No games. No trying to get in touch with somebody. Pick up the phone. Send an email. Real person. Real connection. And get your deal done and get your assets secure. And get your buy order set. I got mine set. If this plays out historically how we've seen in other midterm cycles, this August might provide us the low for the bear market this cycle, or at least another chance at $1 XRP. I'm a buyer at $1. I'm a buyer at 92. I don't think we go much lower than that. You guys let me know in the comments down below. Everything else is at my website, zachrector.com. Another video for you here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, there's the button right there. God bless.